Good evening, everyone. It is another Friday, a busy week. We are joined by the doctors and one of your favorite Friday evening habit. We are joined today by Dr. Ryan Nidak from Virginia Tech, the land of many friends of mine who
Although
went there
a
many
registered voter in the state of Maryland.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Maintaining my voter registration
Right, let's
in the state
speak
of
clear.
Maryland
Yeah.
the same way Mark is maintaining his law license in the state of New York.
and DC.
And
And then we
DC.
have Legal Eagle
District.
and legal scholar from former resident of Munson Hall, I believe, at George Washington.
Never.
Yeah,
Mitch.
we did
That
Munson.
building is terrible.
Well, back then Munson was new, so it could have been nice then when Mark was there. But anyways, Dr. Mark Unker from Legal Eagle, State Party Secretary for the great state of Maryland, and longtime political wizard in everywhere from New York to Maryland.
Bringing it, you can't tell.
And then we've got Jackie Saxton hailing from Brigantine, New Jersey, an island that got smacked by Superstorm Sandy, as our world would say. But I believe Jackie can point out a few flaws in the inventor of the internet, Al Gore's theory about Superstorm Sandy being so bad. And we've got Donald Irvine, media watchdog extraordinaire. Basically, he can sniff out media biases, with one word. His long family tradition of beating out media biases. Donald Irvine, chairman of Actors in Academia, joins us. Welcome. And then we have Marcus Alzona, a tech guru, driver of a Tesla, likes to carbon shame people as he drives, as he points his fingers at people. You're bad, even though my car has a larger carbon footprint than my Yukon, by which I'm looking at a new one tomorrow. And yours truly, Dwight Patel. Welcome, everyone. Busy week. So, Don, take it away.
All right, so we're going to, before we start, I just have to say this, is that you can tell that the introductions are not on a teleprompter.
They are not.
Yeah.
It's just imagination.
Real deal.
Now that we heard Dwight's diary, we can move on with the episode.
Yeah. We really ought to be comparing the week-to-week introductions to see how much variance there
See,
is.
I'm channeling my inner John McLaughlin, like I have not
What
done
if he's gonna be mad at all of us? We're gonna know what he really thinks when he does
John
it.
McLaughlin's dead. Sorry, he's not going to know. He's been passed on. Mark,
All
you know
right.
who John McLaughlin is.
Someone's suffering from a little ADD tonight.
As you can see, I have not even cracked.
Somebody needs a lot of caffeine.
Yeah, product
All right, well,
placement.
we'll go ahead and move on to the topic of the day. I think the thing that has been dominating the news since early this morning, and that is the fact that President Trump and First Lady Melania Trump, an announcement via Twitter from President Trump about 1 a.m. or thereabouts, that he received a positive coronavirus COVID-19 test. And so they were going to take the necessary precautions on that. And that has set the internet afire, set the world afire, whatever you want to call it. I mean, what are your reactions to this panel?
Well, my first concern is when I heard that the president was coming to recuperate at, I call it Bethesda Naval Hospital. What I guess I really should call it Walter Reed Hospital. But that he and Melania's numbers would count against Montgomery County's numbers.
Seriously?
Sorry. So I was a little concerned so that our numbers would
Don't give Mark Elrich any ideas.
Well, that's what I was concerned about, Does that count on our numbers or does it count on DC's numbers?
Interesting question.
Right.
Yeah.
I love how that's what you're concerned about.
Hey, did somebody tell Jimmy that he was going to be on the show today?
Out of this country.
Yeah.
It's just like he's gonna die,
let
and then we're gonna have to move.
Let
because
Jimmy
of
in.
everything.
Well, we need
If
to.
they want me to.
Mark
Yeah.
has got a point in that I think one of the reactions we've had today is we were starting to get better over time with less like the sky is falling down type rhetoric and people kind of coming to terms with here's how we actually move forward as society. And then the president of the United States gets COVID and somewhat
You gotta
understandably,
behave
people
yourself,
just
is
go
all I have to
nuts.
say.
I don't know what Dwight just said, but somewhat understandably, people just go nuts, right? And that's been, if you go on Twitter today, it's basically unusable. You have all sorts of people saying stuff that really doesn't make any sense. I saw someone saying that they're both probably false positives. That's not true. I mean, the odds of that are like 0.25%, which is like not 25%, like 25 basis points, right? Very, very, very small percent.
Fine.
I mean, there's people saying that it's not real. There's people saying all sorts of stupid stuff. There's people saying that this is Trump's fault and that he deserves to die. People are saying all sorts of nonsense. And I think, I mean, keep calm. Trump's a little fat, but otherwise he's in relatively good health. Okay. Like,
I know.
everyone take a deep breath.
I'll tell you why him making it up is complete crap. Because, and we see this reflected, his poll numbers are best when he's speaking to the American people. Like every time that's why he brought back the coronavirus daily briefings, everything like that. When he's not out on the road and doing these
people
big,
are saying all sorts
rallies
of
and everything like that, then he's not doing as well. So this is not the best scenario for him.
Yeah, I mean, it's I saw some news report that Marine One took off from the White House about an hour or so ago, and for Walter Reed. So I guess he's just about a mile away from where I am right now.
Yeah, it's just down the street from Marcus and I.
Yeah, so it's I mean, I don't know. I think any infection is a concern. So I'm hoping that
acting can.
What on earth is going on at Jimmy's?
I don't know. We'll stop the video for now.
Dogs are barking.
We'll stop his video until he.
Yeah. No, it's so. I mean, I'm anything is a concern. It's I guess the report said it's just a mild fever at the moment, so hopefully it remains that way.
Yeah, the people who
Do I turn on my video? What's going on here?
What on earth is going on at Jimmy's?
People think that him going to Walter Reed was all of a sudden
We'll stop his video until he.
when all it was minor symptoms a couple hours ago.
I mean,
like,
I'm
stop overreacting.
anything is
It's
a concern.
and then I'm reading, oh well,
it's
but basically everything.
I guess
the
the
White
report
House,
said
they
it's
only
just a
speak about
mild
it.
fever at the moment, so
Calm
hopefully
down.
it
Dude's
remains that way.
fine. Give it the 2 weeks and then start panicking then.
Mark, I'm glad you gave your blessing. Jackie was very strict. She's like, I can't put you on unless Mark gives his blessing.
You know something? First of all,
Why
I get to
why
talk
end up
to you.
sending it
Jimmy,
anyway?
I'm gonna mute you. You know, I'm tired. You're on mute.
There we go.
This is my show, Jimmy.
Dwight end up sending it anyway. But Jackie was
Oh,
Yeah. And anyways, I get to talk too. You know.
we do,
First
but
of
you
all.
see, one of the things that Don has pushed for in accuracy in academia is a range of views, right? We want to have a range of views on the part of the college faculty.
You know something, Mark. You know, first of all, I get
Not
to
to
get
be
my
that
point.
guy.
No, you know something. You know, Don. You know, Mark. First of all, the president is not going to die. The president is fine. You know, everyone is.
Well, I don't think he's fine.
Jimmy, you know, you might want to get a find yourself. You know.
I don't think he's fine. I think
I was just resembling that debate.
I'd
Yeah.
say this is the most
right here.
severe we've seen. It's the most severe things we've seen since 1981.
Most severe things, what the debates,
This
or are you talking about the
particular
COVID?
You know,
No, I'm talking about President Reagan being shot and being hospitalized, and I think the same thing here with President Trump, where we've never had a president be flown to Walter Reed, where we don't know what's going to happen, and he's going to be there for a few days.
Actually, Jimmy, we've had periods of time when I'm stretching my memory, but my recollection is we've had presidents where the constitutional provisions have been put in place.
Yeah, I mean George H.W. Bush.
Yeah, but I mean,
yeah.
like, come on, that was like when he had to go undergo anesthesia for Pete's
Right?
sake.
Yeah. No. I mean,
But that, I mean, like, when I'm comparing it, what I'm comparing to, Marcus, I can't turn on my video; it won't let me. Dwight has to do it. But I'm comparing it. I'm comparing it to the severity of the situation, not comparing it to where I mean George H.W. Bush, and George W. Bush had to be put on under anesthetic. But I'm saying This is more severe where,
Well, but
you know,
Jimmy, this
went
is a
into
good
the
conversation.
hospital. He didn't
This is
have
a
a
good
choice.
conversation to have because we have, how shall I say, catastrophized COVID. And you know,
There he is.
surgery under anesthesia is a considerably under every and all circumstances is a serious undertaking. I mean,
Well, yeah, it's a risk, but
in terms of severity, this is a Schrodinger's cat. Right now, it's mild symptoms. It may become something more severe. It may clear up as nothing more than what appears like almost like a bad cold, as a lot of COVID.
Are you comparing COVID to a bad cold, Jackie?
No,
Well,
I'm
first
saying
of all,
for many
Jackie.
people, they won't have symptoms any worse than what you would see in a bad cold, whereas a minor portion of the population who get COVID have more severe symptoms. So really, it's a Schrodinger's cat right now. It could become something more severe. In all actuality, it probably is.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree
has
with
a
your
mild
assessment,
fever.
though. I mean, yeah, he has a mild fever. I mean, I both of what you're saying are consistent with each other. That we don't know what it is. It could the outcomes are anywhere from no symptoms to mild to bad to very bad to yeah. So but there's a range, and that's many illnesses are that, just not as sort of they don't just spread as much as COVID does. But yeah, as far as the uncertainty, that's true. I mean, probably you have to go back to Reagan to have this much uncertainty.
it's not that.
Thank
I mean, I
you.
agree with
See,
that.
Thank you.
He'll
I'm
be,
glad-
Marcus,
I'm
he's going to
glad
be
you got
fine. It's not going to be that bad, Jimbo. You know,
Thank you, Marcus.
He'll be
My
just
bad.
I
fine.
think no, but I think this.
I think it's
I think
most
you know
likely.
what you're talking about, Jimmy.
In talking about probability and looking at sort of I don't want to get into the theories or what have you. We're talking about a range of probabilities, of which the most serious ones are real. I'm not saying they don't exist, but they're a relatively low possibility. Compare that, and again,
I don't know. 200,000 people might disagree with you that have died in the United States. But
yeah, but
But look at that as a percentage. Of
hey, Jackie, I'm just saying. Don't quote me on it. Jackie, I'm just saying. That's what I hear.
But again, 200,000 people in and of itself is a number, is a relatively large number. But if you're looking at it, if you're looking at it in comparison to the overall number of people who tested positive, it's actually a very small number. And the only
and again, to be clear,
that Trump has is a little bit of obesity. His BMI is 30.1. I don't just know that. They said it on the news today. I just don't happen to know his BMI.
Well, I mean, if Mark got COVID, I'd be very worried.
Here's the thing. At the end of the day, he's got the best doctors looking after him. He's got the best treatment possible.
We're going to back up for a second because Jimmy just took a serious dig at Mark. He goes, if Mark
You
got
know something? I really don't give a damn, frankly. I really don't. It's like, it's like the Jimmy Carmelo show,
Mark got COVID.
Right. So
serious dig. I care about Mark. What are you talking about? He's my favorite DC attorney.
All right. Well, let's talk about the other side of this, and that obviously after this news came out, they were testing all the people who have been around him the past few days.
Yeah.
Very few people in his administration, including the first family, pretty much most of them came back negative. But then Biden also came back negative today. So, and there was that, when I heard that Trump tested positive, my mind was, did Biden test positive as well? Because obviously both are similar age brackets, and either one of them, quite honestly, could have had that increase in severity. And I was debating when his test came back negative is what is the implication of that versus had they both been positive?
Can we just talk about the coverage for a second and talk about how CNN keeps on, Don Lemon did the worst show yesterday around 1 o'clock in the morning.
The worst show he did the day before yesterday. When you say Don Lemon, you got to qualify that as if today was the worst show, it's the worst show since the last show.
I'm sorry,
it's the worst show since today.
Today at 1 o'clock. Anyway, 1 o'clock in the morning. But I mean, it was just like he couldn't even help himself. And some of the people that are some of the really, 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 really hateful people are saying, "Oh God, I hope he dies. I hope this happens. I hope that happens."
That's
look, we're better than
not
that.
a surprise. That's basically the left for you.
No, that's not true. That
yes,
is not
yes,
true.
it
at all.
is, Jimmy. Yeah,
Biden
is
has
like that.
Biden had said he's praying for the president.
Yeah, that's just for
Look, I mean,
consumption.
I think
Nancy
you've got
Pelosi,
to give Biden some credit at least.
Thank
I do.
you.
I do.
You know, he did come out with a statement, and he's pulling all his negative ads. I
That's
mean,
right. That's right, Don.
So
Thank you.
That's a good step. That's a nice step on his behalf. Okay,
I agree.
You know, when we're talking about an illness, whether or not the politicians, the right, left, center, we need to come together here and say
we
that,
do.
look, you know, we want the best outcome for these individuals. This is
Regardless how we
We
feel.
got to get away from the politics of the moment for this, you know,
But,
and do this. And
see,
you know, we
Don,
definitely have some,
that's a
we
great-
definitely have some diversity
Yeah.
in terms of opinion on here about President Trump, which is exactly what we want. But we need to, you know, we need to understand it's like, and we shouldn't be going bad mouthing Joe Biden just because he's Joe
Exactly.
Biden.
But that's Don, that's a great sentiment and all that. But the sad point is this, okay? We always end up taking the high road, and those SOBs on the other side basically
All right.
never take the high.
So-
they-
Hang on, let's touch
Let
on
me
that.
ask you
Jackie, hold on 1 second. Hold on, Jackie. I think we're going overtime on this
Oh,
now.
I don't think so, Jim. But my show.
Dwight, I don't know. Apparently it's Mark's show. That's what Jackie said on the chat. I
No,
had to check
no,
to
no,
prove it.
no.
said.
Jackie is also a guest on the show too.
All right.
Ryan
All right.
and I
Hang
are
on,
the
I
only
was-
original doctors here,
Dwight,
frankly.
stop
Okay.
throwing me off. I'm trying to touch on my point.
Next week we'll all be thrown off the show, and just
That's
Dwight,
gonna be Jimmy.
Dwight will do a like Rush Limbaugh monologue for 1 hour.
Oh, God.
I'm almost regretting I invited people to watch the show tonight.
Let me tell you
Let me
something.
ask you this. Let me ask you this.
What's
If
that?
and
But
when,
in all fairness, Dwight, in all seriousness, I don't think when you say the SOBs on the other side, no, that's wrong. I think
No, it's
we're all
not
this
wrong.
together.
These
We're
are
all
the
this
same
together.
people. These are the same people that said President Reagan. He's tweeting about Toasty Brown about it. They said Jerry Falwell. They said, only, as I've said this before,
there
and
are
I'll say it
bad
again.
liberals, there are bad
According to the radical
There's
left,
both.
according to the left, the only good Republicans they like are the dead ones. They said horrible things about presidents George H.W. Bush when he was alive, and then when he died, he's such a great
You
guy.
are over general.
And what Republicans haven't said something bad about a Democratic
Right,
president?
Dwight, you're over
We
general.
have never said that about any dead Democrat president.
We. Are you the Republican Party?
I'm
You
a
can't-
Republican. I speak for Republicans.
Dwight,
But I don't.
Do
I've
you say,
seen
do you, have
plenty.
you, yeah, where? I mean, I haven't, nobody that's mainstream has ever said anything bad about a dead Democrat.
Dwight, I've definitely spoken with Republicans before, and sometimes they are sometimes they're like, oh God, why can't she?
Dwight, when we're not on camera, I can start listing the names of the Republicans that I know
Yeah.
you don't like. So
Yeah, let's
Oh,
just.
But I wanna know-
Jackie, I think we should make this interesting. Do it.
Yeah.
But I want to know.
John
Jack,
McClane,
If everybody
that's
dropped
right,
off this
John.
call except for Jimmy and Dwight, we could promote this as a kind of a second version of the debate from
Right.
presidential debate.
John McClane, there's a whole bunch of
Here's what
worthless
I wanna know.
Republicans.
Yeah, you know what? I think I'm just going to mute myself.
Here's
That's the
my
best thing you've
do you
done all
guys
night,
think?
Mark.
Do you guys think if and when, and I do say when, Trump recovers from COVID, he's going to change his stance on wearing masks in public, social distancing? Is he going to become more of an I've been through this now, I understand, taking more of that sympathetic approach that quite honestly I think a lot of people on the fence have been looking for in his COVID response?
Well, that's an interesting point, though, Jackie. The thing is that, yeah, will he? I
Sympathetic.
mean, that's been speculation that he might change, you know, his attitude towards it. I mean, he's definitely been pilloried by the left, by a lot of people in the media about, oh, what a hypocrite, look at it, he's getting what he deserves on the mask type of thing. But if he changes his stance, how do the supporters come out? Are they going to do this? If he does get back on the campaign trail, do we see a change in the protocol in terms of not only are the people behind him going to be wearing masks, but will there be more of the attendees wearing masks? Will this actually change?
Can I go absolutely out on a limb on this?
Yes, you should, Mark.
There's absolutely no chance of that happening.
I actually agree with you. He
Not
has
going to happen. And first of all, the president has been very sympathetic about these. He's been very sympathetic when people have COVID. He said it's a horrible thing. The China flu, the China plague. Whatever you want to call it.
Sorry, on this show we should call it COVID-19.
But I've seen way
I
too
don't
many
think so.
people on his face that are the wearing masks is taking away my freedom faction of his base, that I don't think that he's going to change his stance on that as much as I think it would be beneficial for him to do so.
Do you think it would change any minds who aren't going to vote for him right now?
No, it really wouldn't. That's like
I don't
saying
think it's going to change any minds, but it can't hurt his image to say, like, yeah,
You
like,
know, so,
okay,
you know,
get
let
it
me tell you,
now. And
President
I
Trump
think people's
could save
opinions-
a busload of nuns from dying, and CNN would say, "Oh, President Trump just saved a bunch of radical Catholics," is what
I
he'd
don't
say.
care what
Yeah,
CNN
they would
says.
say that the dogma must live inside him.
That's right.
Even if there's
Uh,
kind of
that's what
positive
CNN would say.
feedback,
I
don't
think Ryan wanted to say
that's
something though.
Yeah,
Yeah, go
I just want to say, I think that, like, to Jackie's point, do maybe like a suburban woman voter demographic that is very important in this election have a different opinion from President Trump on masks? Yes, that is the case. However, with that being said, I think people's opinions of the president are already kind of baked in at this point. This is very unusual in terms of an election. There's not going to be a October surprise that makes someone who really,
This
really
is an
hated
October
President Trump.
This is the October.
Yes,
surprise.
this is the actual, but there's not going to be something that comes that switches
One of
someone
many.
from, oh, I really love Trump and now I don't like him, or vice versa. People's opinions are already defined. This is a turnout election. So really it would be, okay. This is like when
Sorry.
Dwight showed pictures of Spiro Agnew. But yeah, to short answer, I don't think it's going to move the needle because I think the needle's already stuck in place.
I agree.
How
with
about
Chris
this though?
Wallace.
Does this change
I agree with
anybody?
Brian.
Does it change the public's opinion about masks or what in policy going forward at all?
No, not really. I mean, I have the same view on masks I had yesterday. You know, honest to God, these masks
Oh, God.
are stifling. I have to put them on when I go inside of a grocery store or go into Costco's. By the way, I get to go in during seniors, which is awesome. They need to keep this going
You're
forever.
sneaking in.
They need to keep this going forever. And I got to
I think it will change some people. It also depends on the course that the president's case takes. So, and I think a lot of things. There are a lot of, like, I don't want to say not butterfly effects, but there's a lot of different things going that could occur from this, and it really does depend on. Well, it's not no symptoms. Is it hopefully just mild? Or more, like how serious his case ends up becoming, because really he is the most famous case
I agree.
in the world at this point. Okay, it's just
look.
that's it.
Marcus.
So everyone's going to be looking at it, and so it's going to be people are going to. I mean, I get your point, Dwight, too. It's like that there are different. Some people it won't affect them or won't affect their opinion, and
Right.
that's true. But I think it will, and that's sort of the strange variable that we're going to look at over the next few weeks. If we're thinking about the election itself, it's definitely going to be a variable in there.
So
And
let me.
I don't know how it's going to turn out.
Let me ask this.
Let me just hold on, Jimmy. I was just going to say, let me agree with that, and I think how it turns out makes a huge difference, and that's why I go back to looking at probability in terms of sort of a spectrum of likely outcomes. There are significantly more people who are relatively asymptomatic or have relatively mild than end up having to, say, be put on a ventilator. Now, obviously, there's a range, and there's one chance in maybe one chance in 25 that it ends up becoming, significantly more serious than that. And obviously that would significantly change that. But operating under just the assumption of it's, identified fairly early, he's already there's lots of medicines that are being, treatments that are being shown to be very effective. The probability is that it's not going to be as severe as it was in other circumstances.
Now let's say for
Let's
something.
move on from this. I think we beat this issue to death.
Yeah, we'll probably beat this to death, but I want to touch on one thing.
I'm
and
sure
then
you
we'll-
do.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Let's say we have a Prime Minister Boris Johnson incident where he has to go on a ventilator.
Right.
Then Mike Pence
mean-
becomes president. That's how simple it is. We've got that in place already. Michael Pence becomes the acting president.
Yep.
Nancy, please let me finish this real quick.
No, I don't think so.
That was one of the things, though.
Goodbye, Jimmy.
That's what?
Goodbye.
This is your little childish little pranks, is going to get you knocked off. I mean,
Boot it off.
Yeah, you
Anyway,
see
no,
muscled
no.
your way onto the show. Never mind that.
Oh my god.
But in all fairness, I definitely agree with Marcus that this will change. This could change the outcome. I don't think it's going to deter any voters away from him, but if for some reason something does happen to the president, which I doubt it will, you know, then we have a Mike Pence within 30 days of the election, or 34 days?
It's not completely all in one direction,
Right.
because if it I've already seen some smirks from people like, "Oh, I told you," from
That's driving me nuts. Yeah.
and that's an attitude that some have. If it ends up being mild and he recovers quickly, then there'll be a different smirk going on. It's like, I told you. It's like it can. It's all up in the air at this moment. In the next few weeks, it can go many different, very strange directions. You see what I'm talking about? If he has the treatment, and then that he was mocked incessantly for, and he recovers fine. Again, the most famous case in the world. It's.
Oh God.
I don't know.
Yeah, but Marcus,
A lot of uncertainty.
my prediction is he'll be ready for the next debate. And
So that's a perfect
Well,
segue. So
and that'll be a good segue. But I just want to say one more thing, kind of just to throw one more thing in here, and then we'll move on to the debate issue, which is just that the way the media has gone. I mean, Jimmy's already talked about Don Lemon, but when it goes from Trump, and then it talks about Politico, it's like the worst case scenario is Mike, a sick Mike Pence.
Oh God.
Right? And then you have, I think it was MSNBC or somebody was saying,
MSNBC this morning.
asking Nancy Pelosi, "Are you ready to become the president? Are you ready?" I mean, they're doing this massive speculation. The New York Times, their early article from Maggie Haberman and Peter Baker, who senior White House correspondent, and the other, and then the general White House correspondent, their long article today was just like, well, all of these negative things about Trump, and it was lots of conjecture, speculation. This is that, if he gets sick, he may have to remove himself from the ballot. I mean, they're just throwing all this stuff out.
They are so giddy about this.
Their part, I think.
It's
It's crazy.
insane.
The left is so giddy about this whole thing.
Bob Woodward was on CNN, right?
The communist Bob Woodward.
He was talking to Wolf Blitzer, and he's saying how he forget how he's worried about the president, things like that. And then they put his book Fear up on the screen, and I'm like, are you guys kidding me right now? The guy is on his way to the hospital, and you guys have you're promoting
one of
his
the all right. So let me just go down to conspiracy theory, because we really need we need that point of view, and obviously Don's not willing to step in. So if there's anything, hold on. If there's anything, love it or hate it, one of the things about President Trump is he is the absolute master of distraction, right? Anything happens that he doesn't want to deal with, he'll change the narrative by doing something completely off base, right? Are you right, Jimmy?
I know where we're going with this.
So
I better put myself on
ride
mute.
that Trump.
yeah, all right, do that. And actually, I wish we could do something with Dwight, because he's going to be that guy. So earlier in this week, the New York Times, quote, broke the squib of a story about his tax returns, right? Which was like, okay, who the hell was surprised by any of that after 5 years, right? Was anyone really surprised? No. So, right.
I
understand it. So nobody was really, but of course for New York Times, this was, and of course, Biden was all ready to release his returns. How coincidental was that? Like there wasn't any coordination with that. And then there was the debate, and let's just say that the president was a little strong in his presentation. So what does he do? He gets COVID. Everything else all of that is like yesterday's news. It's like completely off.
All this time, we were like in my household, we're like, they're trying to get Biden to not debate. How's he going to do it? Oh, he's going to come down with COVID right before the debate starts, and there's not going to be able to debate. And then it's like the opposite. That's my rabbit hole. That's where my
you're like debate what?
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Joe Biden is actually breathing a huge sigh of relief because he probably won't have to debate the president again. You know, after
No,
he got
I'll be surprised if they go on another debate
they
stage. I think
should.
we're
They
gonna
still
have,
should. Look, I think they could do it via Zoom.
I think they're going to have a vice presidential debate, which is happening this week, and that's it.
I think
Yeah.
Trump's going to do his damnedest to get to be on stage.
Except,
in Miami.
Jimmy, if maybe not the next one, but the third and final one, if Trump, let's say 2 weeks, recovers, no major issues, has antibodies, isn't it then safer to debate President Trump than it was before?
well,
I don't think that's your issue. I see the Biden campaign saying, well, we're not putting him anywhere near Trump, who just had COVID. No way, no
But
how.
if you don't have COVID anymore, you're now
Right.
you're free and clear. You have antibodies. You
don't
can't
care.
have it.
Well,
Yeah,
that's-
And
after
that's
like
just
30
not
days.
based in reality.
that's right.
After 30 days, so it's not.
Right.
There's not going to be.
Joe-
That's
Joe can-
post election. So
Joe
Yeah.
can put a mask on. You know, we can put him in a little rubber suit. You know, to debate the president if he wants.
I did
Alright.
want to. I did
Hazmat
want to add
suit.
one. I did want to build on one joke to what you said, Dwight, earlier. Like, yeah, he'll be ready for the next presidential debate when he runs for a third term.
Yeah.
Just a joke. Just a joke.
But
Now-
here-
Mom
here-
loves
but
playing
here-
that.
and here's
Okay,
the thing,
we
though.
should.
I do want to say something about Bob Woodward, okay? Bob Woodward brought down one of our greatest anti-communist presidents, and now he's trying to bring down another guy that is beating down the communists in China. Bob Woodward in the 70s was getting a paycheck from Moscow, I bet, and now he's
What?
getting a paycheck from Beijing.
Oh, come
Bob
on,
Woodward
Dwight.
and Carl
No,
Bernstein
he
were
wasn't.
communist agents.
Cut it out.
I
I
think
mean,
that.
come
That's
on.
for you, Joe.
No, that's come on. That's
All right.
ridiculous.
Okay, I think we should change the subject, but I
Yeah,
do
let-
want to
let's
say
talk about
breaking news that
Bob.
happened during the episode.
Oh,
Friend of the show, Tom Fitton, former Accuracy of Media employee, Judicial Watch, was just appointed to a commission within the Trump administration.
For what?
That's your breaking news?
Yes, this is breaking news. Commission on Judicial Disabilities and Tenure. But Tom Fitton is now a member of the Trump administration. So I
Very
wonder
good.
if that means he's leaving Judicial Watch.
oh, and
Not-
on that same
Not for a
note,
commission.
hey Ryan, on that same note,
I don't
I
know.
got Tom's office after he left.
Yeah. But anyways, that
Well,
Hey,
I mean, the thing is, I mean, we did talk about the debate quite a bit on Direct Line the other night, but we do have a slightly different panel as well, and it's good to kind of to get this out, I think, a little bit. So, you know, one of the questions you guys have brought up is a good question. Is that I think we're pretty much in agreement that October 15th debate, it's not going to happen.
Ain't gonna happen.
You know, but the October 22nd debate, it's still a possibility. But I think, you know, Dwight has a good point too, is that does the Biden camp, you know, breathe a sigh of relief? I mean, the Democrats, some of the Democrats may
They
be in
didn't
a
win the debate.
because they didn't want Biden to debate to begin with. You know, we still have, and we have this whole issue about the Commission on Presidential Debates, you know, with the rule changes that they wanted to put into effect that Trump wasn't, you know, very keen about to begin with. So you have a lot of different dynamics going on here. I mean, do you really think a Zoom type of debate can actually work versus the in-person kind of debate?
Absolutely not.
I don't think it can.
Do you know how hard it is for Dwight to moderate this part? Can you imagine the moderator if they had those two on Zoom?
Yeah, it's called. He's got a mute button at that point. You know,
Do you-
where
do
he
you
just go
see-
like
it's a
he
lot-
can just go like this.
it's a lot harder
we're
to hide
done.
a
And I
teleprompter
just unmuted myself. See?
than it is to hide a
I just muted you
teleprompter.
again. I can do this all
I
night
know.
long. I can do this all night long.
Yeah, I don't. There's zero chance of another presidential debate because I think, you know, as you were talking, as you guys were talking about earlier, you know, some people were saying, or Jackie, you were saying that Biden was going to use that as an excuse to get out of it, and Biden's like happy that, or his team is happy that he didn't have a bigger meltdown, or a significant event during it. Why would he?
They're gonna
At
quit
least
with their
that's the theory. That would be a theory that some people say.
Why
Um,
would
So
Yeah.
Why
Marcus,
would he
this
want to
is
go
the-
do it again?
This is the same guy who was telling us up until about 24 hours before the Democratic convention that Biden wasn't going to be the nominee. I'm going to go out on a limb and say there will be a debate on the 15th.
I think that
You know,
I think
what
that
he's
he's
other thing they
like,
could do is they could do a double header on the 22nd. Do a double header. Do go for 6 hours.
They'll
I
do
think
it
so.
on the 5th. They'll
I
do it on
think-
the 15th.
I think.
Well, Mark, do you think you think it's going to be an in-person or a remote debate, though?
I'd be a remote debate. I mean, there's no reason you can't put,
I
separate.
don't think there's any way the Trump campaign agrees to remote debate.
I wouldn't.
I don't
That
think
is
they
true,
will. I
because there'd be
think,
people
and I
feeding
don't
Joe
think,
Biden
but
against
Because they have no. Here's the but Jackie. If you got a candidate who's behind in the polls, right? every single poll behind the polls. Textbook, if you're behind, you want to have a debate because you need something to open things up. They're going to want to, and they're also worried. I mean, Trump himself is going to want to convey the fact that, he's in charge and what have you, short of being, having to show up on the screen, forgive me, with a ventilator.
Oh my God, I hope not.
I know. I that's a little whatever off
No,
color.
That's like your wife.
I
Yeah,
agree.
but what I'm saying is he is going to push to go ahead with the debate, and that'll become part of the whole. I can do it. I think there will be.
Yeah, I think short of Trump going into like his health declining very rapidly, there's very little that's going to keep him from that debate stage one way or another.
And
Yeah.
they should.
No. And I didn't say the stage because I think
Or
part of the issue will be there's no reason
correct.
we can't
I
do
don't
it like.
think the Biden campaign will agree to in-person debates at the very least until
Right.
But here's the thing: I don't trust
But
Joe Biden's
wait,
people not to
wait.
feed him answers, during the debate.
Here,
But-
right, but
He-
Trump is
Trump
by
has
all
no choice
conventional-
but to go with that.
Trump has no choice, but he's going to try one because he, even at this debate, he's like, he wanted to have, he wanted to do the drug test, he wanted to have people inspected for a hearing device. Can you imagine the list of demands that are probably not going to be met if they were to do a virtual debate, but the list of demands that they would want? I would want them to have a 360
Jackie, he's not going to have leverage to impose those demands. By
Exactly.
every conventional metric,
Exactly,
Trump is losing
Jack.
right now. That's what we don't want to admit. Trump is behind in
every
every single poll. Every single
Exactly.
one.
He's like that
He can
Florida
still
too.
win, but he needs to do something to pull ahead. It's
I
not
mean,
like
look at my take on the polls. Honestly, I think most of the polls are crap. We saw that. In
I mean, Jackie, that's simply not true. That's a terrible take. In 2016, the polls were off, but they were off by a very consistent margin across, which if you actually look at it was a result of oversampling,
Yeah.
not sampling on the basis of college education because that really wasn't believed to be a factor.
This margin isn't as significant as a lot of people like. I was hearing a lot of analysis on the polls the other day. It's still within the margin of error.
Yeah, but I hate to be that
Yeah,
guy to
but-
say this, but Zogby, I think, is the only poll where the president's ahead or within, is ahead in a lot of the polls. But Zogby also had Mitt Romney winning in 2012, so.
Right, So
Yeah.
the dynamic will be again, depending how things turn out over a period of time. The 15th could well be.
I think there's a chance that all the remaining debates, presidential, vice presidential, will be Zoom, just because, or not Zoom necessarily, but a virtual format
Right.
for the
Vice
debate.
presidential debate will be in person.
I don't know. I mean, I think
Maybe
that
Joe set the standard
I think the
for-
vice presidential debate will be in person as well.
All of the people involved in that have tested positive.
or tested negative. I think it's more likely that it's in person, but and also because the Biden camp doesn't really have a reason to not have it in person there because Kamala Harris can hold her own in the debate. I don't think
they
they're worried
want
about
her
that.
in person. Quite honestly, I happen to think that they've been underutilizing her because if they keep saying, he's a transitional president, you're really voting. Like
Well-
everybody knows that
Well,
they're
Jackie, the reason they're underutilizing her is because, in my opinion, is because they're worried that if they go too strong on this is the Kamala Harris ticket, people will actually start to believe it. And they want people to think it just enough where people who are worried about Joe Biden's mental fitness have a little bit of comfort, but not enough where people actually think they're voting for Kamala Harris. But to kind of pivot back to the debates,
There's
I
gonna
think
not be a lot of people who think they're actually voting for Joe Biden at this.
I think there are a lot of people. I don't think that's necessary.
I think there are a lot of people.
I think people think they're voting for Joe Biden.
The Democrats
Not a
are
lot of
not
people are
that-
tuned into the Joe Biden has dementia, whatever, or Joe Biden is not all there because a lot of people aren't seeing Joe Biden because Joe Biden's been in his basement and he didn't get a word in that debate because President Trump got a lot more words in.
I concur with the doctor.
And
Ryan.
I will, to kind of pivot back to the debates, I think one big challenge for President Trump is he didn't have the sort of dominant performance in the debate that he had, that he was hoping to have. At best, it was a draw. And I think, especially in this cycle, the debates will get less important each subsequent debate because more and more people will have voted in an increasingly mail-in dynamic.
and-
I mean, by the third debate, I think over half of people will have already submitted their ballots. So it becomes less and less important. And of the people who haven't voted, there'll be disproportionately Trump supporters who are skeptical of the mail-in process.
And I think that's one thing that a lot of people need to get over. Vote early. Don't do the mail thing. I know, we see people, ballots being thrown. So don't do it by mail. Vote early. Early voting is out there. Is every state's got it now? Unfortunately,
I would be really interested to talk to somebody who is an undecided voter, whether in this election or any other one. Because honestly, I can't imagine it. But I'm trying to think if I genuinely didn't know who I was voting for at this point, and with everything going on with mail-in ballots, do I wait until November 3rd and vote in person? Because, like, if I genuinely don't know who I'm voting for, I don't know that I'd feel comfortable submitting a mail-in ballot until I get the amount of information that I'm looking for.
Well, let me just tell you about undecided voters. Back in 1992, they had one of the debates was where they did it. They called it the Oprah-style debates with Carol Simpson from ABC News. Was the moderator, and she, you have these two crazy hack liberals from, I think they're from Vermont, who basically goes, Mr. President, what about education? You said you're going to be the education president, and da. Yeah, you guys aren't undecided. You guys are freaking Democrats, you liars. Yeah, that's
to address the point about undecided
What the hell
voters.
was that?
That is the typical undecided.
No, there are
Democrat voters.
Wait
No,
a second.
they're not, Mark. But only undecided. Are you really that stupid that you don't know who you're voting for president by now? For crying out loud, you guys are.
I don't know if that's the message we want to be portraying as a party to undecided voters.
I'm not saying that as a party. My point is this: if you don't know by now who you're going to vote for president, just stay home.
Okay,
No, but Dwight, people.
It's again another great message.
Yeah.
Vote for the president. Stay home.
Right, come on, Dwight. You can't just tell people to stay home. They have to exercise their rights.
No, they don't have to do it. Their right is also to stay home too. If they don't know who they're voting for, they should just stay home and post a flipping a coin. I'd rather have an informed voter than.
It's not your choice.
Wait,
It's not your choice, Dwight.
I am just giving counsel to undecided voters.
Let's rein this back in. I will say, to talk about, there aren't,
Stay home.
I think, I agree with whoever
Unless
said
you're
there are
voting for
less
president.
undecided voters this cycle than there are normally. A lot less, but there are still some. And I think, at least among the ones I've talked to, especially in the younger, my age demographic, it's basically a way of Trump. It's a balance between Trump's policy positions being more favorable, but not the antics, right? People don't like the antics, and people in the middle. There are people that would be in the middle. And I think that's just something that, as much as some of us might like the antics,
It's
as much
reality.
As sometimes it pleases me, it's the reality. People don't like the tweets. They don't like the chaos. And especially among younger people, the quote unquote Instagram story activism and peer pressure that you have to just vote for Biden and make this all over with. It's actually working on a lot of people, candidly. People who were in the middle and are like, okay, I'll just vote for Biden because I don't want to hear about it, right? That's a real thing that I've talked to people about that is voting for Biden. That's a real thing we have to consider. Those are the undecided voters, though, it's not a issues versus issue. I think President Trump on the issues, I think, really is spot on, partly because Biden really hasn't taken a position on much of anything. When they talked about packing the court during the debate, Biden said, I'm not going to take a position on this because that'll become the story. Well, isn't that the point of the debate, is for you to take a position on things so that can become
Well, hold on.
It's kind of like, the president, when Joe Biden was asked about to condemn the rioting in Portland or
Brian,
Antifa or
I haven't
BLM.
taught you anything yet that I don't know what my
Well, no, I understand, Jimmy. The point of a debate from the candidate's perspective is to not take a position. I understand. Like, this is like campaign management 101. Avoid stepping on a landmine. However, you don't want to say that to the voter. That's what. Yes, but saying I was told not to take a position on this is what was written on his cue card, not what he's actually supposed to say. That was a Biden.
I didn't see that on the cue card. Where'd you see that at?
That was a.
Do you see
that on Jackie's mother's Facebook?
It's a metaphor. You get my point.
You saw that on Jackie's mother's Facebook, didn't you?
The most reliable source of news.
I have another question. This factors heavily into whether or not they do a virtual debate. Isn't the next debate supposed to be town hall style?
Yes.
I think so.
The
Yeah.
Oprah style. They call it town hall now. They call it Oprah style.
They can do pre-recorded questions from voters. That
but
really isn't a complicated
that's not
question.
it's not where Trump shines is in an in-person setting where you can have the interaction, where you, and when you have an audience as well. I think that is where he is excellent at commanding it. And
but so does Biden. So does Joe.
Does he? He always has
Joe
some-
has that brand of politics. Joe has that
Back when he could remember where he was.
But the president's at it's,
People
yeah.
care.
but the president's at it's another level with that. So I'm not sure if it's that's why I sort of doubt that another debate will happen. Although, Mark, you gave a plausible scenario that it works, and I'm not hard and fast on that. I'm just saying I don't think, and it doesn't work in the president's favor.
Joe does a good job when with that kind of brand where he can be up close and personal, and that town hall thing. But I know Trump, the president does the same thing, so I think that is a win-win for both of them. They don't like it when it's struck.
Well,
Same with the guy running for the governor of Maryland right now.
I think personally,
Brian, what's his name again?
Robin Ficker?
Mr. 2 Cents.
Robin Ficker. He does a great job when he can be up close and personal.
Has Robin posted where he is tonight for the show comments?
I don't know.
Probably on the boardwalk in Ocean City, where Robin wants to put a governor's mansion.
I
That
talked to him
is-
I did some
a great
field work
idea.
last Friday when I wasn't on the show, and he's not doing Ocean City because
Yeah.
It's out of
By the way, one thing I do want to address that, and let me tell you, everyone in the lefty media is guilty of this. When Joe Biden was asked to condemn the rioters or Antifa or BLM, what did he say? Antifa, what did he say? Was it a way of life?
It was
or-
Antifa's not an organization. Antifa's an idea.
Yeah.
We talked about this on Wednesday.
Yeah.
If we want to delve down this rabbit hole, let's go. Which
Yeah, let's do it.
No, we're gonna start
are
running.
we
out of-
going into
our
extra
time.
innings tonight, or are we going to
Yeah,
go
we
to
are.
update?
Let's go ahead and just spend a few minutes on the on today's jobs report, because we had the final jobs report before the election today. It was we came in at 7.9% unemployment, about 661,000 jobs created. So the unemployment rate dipped about 0.5%, which was a little bit better than predicted. Economists had predicted, but the economy didn't create as many jobs as was predicted. Now, I want to say that if I recall correctly, I believe that Dwight was calling for the number sixes.
Yeah.
Dwight's always the super optimist.
Here's the
I
thing.
think
Okay. Here's the point. If some of these blue state governors and these blue county executives would open up their counties, perhaps we would have been at that number. But, you've got idiot governors like that moron in New York, who basically now begging people to come back to his godforsaken state.
I'm in New York right now talking live to you guys.
Yeah, but you're not in your city. You're
You're not on Long Island. You're
So
not in the other part.
we're going off. We're
You know,
talking
we
We
about
are.
the jobs
Bring
numbers.
us back home, Mark.
Yes,
Yeah.
we're talking about the jobs
We're talking
numbers.
about real
Don, set it up as a question.
I mean,
multiple choice if all possible.
yeah. So the thing about the jobs
Yes.
numbers is, I think most of us, if we've been watching the news or following the news, we realize is that, we're seeing with each succeeding jobs report numbers that have been coming out is that the recovery process is slowing down. I think that was going to be kind of a natural effect. I think the part of the question going forward is this how much further is it going to slow down? I mean, are we kind of at the point where we peaked? We're not going to see much of an improvement going forward because we now are well past the stimulus effect. Congress and the Senate are locked in a battle about maybe more money and all these other things. And so we are seeing, Disney laid off, they permanently laid off 28,000 people. The airlines, their money ran out. So they're furloughing, laying off, their pilots and other employees. Baseball, Major League Baseball, for example, they're supposed to lose like $3 billion this year collectively because of the shortened season and all these other things. But they have staff. Beyond the players, they have staff that's behind the scenes working in the front office. There are events that would take place at the stadium when the teams aren't there. Those events don't happen, concerts, etc. So they're laying off staff. So there is this thing going on there that affects a lot of people. Where are we going? With this, and is Joe Biden ready to take on this if he gets elected, or is this Donald Trump has got it? He's the guy that's got to have it going forward. He's the only one who's going to solve this problem.
There's two things at play here. One of which Dwight, mentioned earlier, before it was phrased as a question, which was that part of it is being delayed by the fact that blue states, especially, are not opening. Right? You can't have a full recovery when certain places are going to
Well-
open. You're going to recover very quick. Let me get to my second point, Jimmy.
Okay, you get to your second point.
They're going to recover very quickly, and then other places won't open up, so it slows down. Now, the second part of it, and this part is a lot harder to address from a government policy standpoint, is certain people just aren't willing to go places, right? There's a limit on, okay, the people who are comfortable going out again are going out, but I know people who will eat only outside but not inside, or will go to restaurants but won't go to bars, or will go to a live music performance at a restaurant but not to a movie theater, right? So there's people who have different comfort levels and are not willing to do everything. And that's the other thing holding us back. The first one, President Trump absolutely has the upper hand on because he's the one who wants to get us open and moving again. But on the second one, that's a lot tougher to address as a political question.
So
let me
let's
say,
break that down. Let's break that down for a
no,
second.
Jimmy, it's my turn.
Oh, it is? Hang
Yeah,
on
it's
a
my
second.
turn. It's
Good.
my show.
Give Dwight a quick little go,
Yeah.
and then we'll go to Jimmy.
Go
All
right
right,
to
Dwight,
Jimmy.
go ahead.
My
Go ahead.
comment
Go
is,
ahead.
it still goes back to the loser blue state governors who keep
Oh,
things shut down. Is
Oh,
why it's-
God.
look at the great state of Florida. They have opened everything up in it. People aren't dying like flies in Florida right now.
Well, let's not get carried away. Let's talk about Maryland for a second. Our great governor, Governor Larry Hogan, Lawrence Hogan
Get to your
Jr.,
point, Jimbo.
has done a fantastic job in making sure that we're reopening and that we are open for business again, and that bars on the Eastern Shore, restaurants on the Eastern Shore were able to come back and make money off of
Maryland's
this.
had 0 deaths today. Want to point that out.
And exactly, we've had 0 deaths since what, 185 days, I think it was that Becky?
I think they said this was the first day without deaths in 100.
In 185 days, yes, Jimmy's.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, we're a blue state. But we have a good
governor. We have a red governor, though.
Oh, now he's ready?
Jimmy, shut the hell up. You're an idiot, you moron. I've worked with Governor
Making
Hogan
us
hell
fucked
long
up
more than you've
and
even been
fake up.
alive, you asshole.
Why am I getting
It's crying out
it?
loud, I'm getting sick of little childish antics here.
Jeez.
Oh, he's so
Okay. To kind of rein this in a little bit.
Yeah.
To Dwight's point, before whatever just happened, the Governor Hogan, yes, he's opening up Maryland. Part of the problem we're seeing, even in Maryland, if you look at Maryland as a microcosm, is that because they gave leeway to the counties and to different cities, you have places like Montgomery County not coming back as fast. More businesses in Montgomery County are never going to come back than, say, Talbot County, where they're being a little bit more accelerated to reopening. And that's because while Governor Hogan gave the go-ahead, Mark Elrich said, hell no. Whereas with nationally, we're seeing the same thing where granted, the federal government has limited powers over this, but Donald Trump is doing what he can with the bully pulpit to say, reopen, reopen, reopen. And you have governors like Gavin Newsom in California saying absolutely not. So you're seeing delayed, and it's disproportionately in liberal progressive areas. I mean, Dwight's right calling it how it is. You're seeing a delayed comeback, which is, stunting the regrowth of this economy.
And then there's another thing that factors into play here, and I'm using this partially as a segue as well, is today the House passed the $2.2 trillion relief bill. Now, I think that pretty much all of us can predict what's going to happen when it gets to Mitch McConnell. And it's interesting, I'm hearing a lot of commentary on this saying that, like, Trump, the White House and Nancy Pelosi are willing to work together on this. It's Mitch McConnell who's the one holding it up. Now, my personal opinion on this is the thing that's holding it up is the fact that the left is trying to throw in all kinds of things not related here, and also the fact that they think that all of the relief money should also go to illegal immigrants, and that really bothers me. But what's your guys' take on that? And are the optics really bad? I mean, I think they're damned if you do, damned if you don't. Wait. So if you don't push this through, people are like, come on, seriously, I need this money. I'm suffering. Business is the same. If they have this money, they'd be able to go back. But if they push it through, they're also giving in to all these things that quite honestly should not be in this bill to begin with. And, who's not willing to compromise here, and who does it look worse?
Well, here's the point. I think, first of all, it should be dead on arrival, quite frankly. They're spending way too much damn money. We are the party of, we are the deficit hawks, we're not
That'd be more weird.
We're not the,
More.
we're not
That's
the
right.
tax and spend Democrats, you know.
That was a different era.
At the end
boat
of the
sailed
day-
a
end
long
of the
I
day-
wish that era would come back, but that's,
Yeah, I know.
End of the
It's
day, we've given relief to the people once. We've done enough. We need to prop up business. You know, like what the hell do we need to keep giving more money in unemployment and this
But
and
it's
that?
all tied together. We can't prop up business unless we pass a relief
Well,
bill. And unless
you've got
growing
the veto pen here.
there's
Dwight.
no
You've got the
ability
veto
to
pen.
compromise here because people are going to keep pushing their own agendas.
Let me-
Dwight,
let
I would agree with Jackie and disagree with you on that part. I know we talked about this before.
We
where-
can veto everything. Every time they say it's dead on arrival, they say the president's budget's dead on
But-
arrival. They're dead on arrival. They're
they
dead.
have. I mean, Dwight, the reason they have leverage, and you're absolutely right that the president can veto every single bill that's sent to him. That's undeniably true. But they have leverage because there's an election coming up where
Yep.
the idea of stimulus, as much as some of us might not like it, myself included in certain cases, is politically popular,
Yeah, I know.
right?
So
that's where
you know,
they have leverage.
That
And
is the problem of, I think, society today than it was in the good old days of the 1980s, you know, is that, you know, people, you know, don't want to work anymore. They just want to, you know, they just want free stuff.
it's
that-
not. Come on, that's not true.
I mean,
Oh, come
Dwight,
on.
It's just
That's
unfair.
fair.
But
Free stuff.
I think we talked about this at the very beginning of the pandemic, and that, you know, this is a really tough circumstance for someone
It is.
like as a physical conservative of
Yeah.
that ideology, because yes, pull yourself up by the bootstraps and go work. But what happens when you live in California and Gavin Newsom says you're not allowed to, or you're a criminal?
Vote him out of office. Vote him
But
out
like,
of
well,
office.
no,
that's
but
not
that's
an
not-
immediate solution
not an
to
immediate-
someone who can't feed
Not
their
an
family
immediate
because a
California
tyrant
recall.
governor is
Recall
telling them
Gavin
they
Newsom.
can't go work. I mean, that's just not practical.
No, but here's the thing. Also,
And I think that really addresses the issue. I know Dwight doesn't like the unemployment compensation, but and again,
They're
the real
getting
difference
state
between, well,
unemployment,
forgive me,
Mark.
stop.
Mark, they're still getting unemployment from the
You
state.
know,
Dwight, that's not the part you're trying to issue.
Dwight, they're
The
not
thing
getting
that's
enough
issue
money, and some
with
people
the
are
thing that's
unemployed for
issue
no
with the
reason
relief
at all.
Right.
Well,
Or
there's
that
people
they're
are
not
unemployed all the time.
that are in there. That's not, honestly,
Not like they are now.
Bill
Like
Ramsey
they are
talks
now.
about an emergency fund.
Marcus, jump in here, please help me.
I was just going to say, look, this is actually not controversial between the Senate and the House, so I don't know
It
why
really
we're
isn't.
arguing it. There is a recognition on the part of the Senate bill that there should be some additional federal support of unemployment. And it's intended to be targeted to the people who are most affected. So the position you're taking, Dwight, nobody else is taking.
Well, maybe they should.
No one
Maybe
understands.
they should, for crying out loud, Mark. You know, first of all, you know, the stimulus that everyone allegedly got, I never saw that stimulus check. You know, because according to
more than
I got it.
I didn't need one. I'm not asking for it. You know,
But, you
I'm
know,
doing just. I mean,
so
and this is actually. Could I? One of the things that we really need to kind of focus on is one of the reasons that the unemployment rate in the grand scheme of things is so low, 7.9%, is that this has affected a very specific group of people disproportionately. We've talked a lot about people in restaurants and hospitality, but
Sam.
people who are in travel and airlines and what have you. It's affected people in a very, very targeted kind of way. And that's why we're talking about the need for some support. Lots of people, and I include myself in that, have absolutely no effect because I can work virtually. So
Exactly.
But my point is this: if we're going to just send $1,250, here's the thing: $75,000 is just an arbitrary number. Why not that? Why can't that be $234,000? You know,
Yeah,
no, because look,
I don't know.
$1,250 that everybody got, it was if you make $75,000 or less.
yeah, I think that's a
That's an
reasonable.
arbitrary. That's just a number they just
Well,
put out.
yeah, it's
Why
arbitrary, but
can't it be? Why not 234,000? Why not 234,000?
At the end of the day, I think that if they brought a bill to the table that, you know, that can, and I think that they could keep the $600, that wouldn't even be the issue. If they brought something on the table that had nothing to do with the cannabis industry, that had nothing to do with anything outside of let's get businesses the money they need to open and
Yep.
get people back in their jobs, it would pass unanimously. Because both the left and the right want that to happen.
Nancy
I'm
Pelosi
not
doesn't
passing
want
by
that. No,
Tito.
Nancy Pelosi does not want a clean bill, Jackie. Nancy Pelosi does not want a clean
Yeah,
bill.
no, but what? Yes, that's the issue here. And we already acknowledged that, which is, among the other things, the cannabis stuff is she wants large amounts of money to go to the state and local governments. And there's been a difference. Governor Hogan has done, addressed this issue early on and made adjustments to the budget and responded. And apparently a number of other states have not. We know here in Montgomery County that they've been adding to spending. I'm not aware that they've done anything to cut back.
No, it's Montgomery County.
They're about to give themselves.
No, that's Montgomery County. Yeah, no, be clear. Yes.
Yeah, but you're right about the early comments about the leverage. I mean, there is this war going on. I mean, we started off with back in May when the House Democrats passed about a $3.5 trillion relief bill. And the Republicans came back and they were very far apart. So Pelosi's like, okay, well, we'll go to 2 trillion and that we'll be happy with that. That died before recess. Now they come back with 2.2 trillion, and they're trying to use the pressure of the election to try to get more of their pork, more of their extra programs through there. We all know too that Mnuchin has been talking with Pelosi. They've been trying to do some things, try to get something. I think it's inevitable at some point in time that something would happen, but I think the better chances of it needs to happen before the election for it to really be.
And Don, to your point, and everybody here, I mean, we all know the shore counts on summer dollars. If the governor hadn't opened up and the president hadn't passed the first relief bill, I can guarantee half those businesses would be underwater by now.
All right.
I mean,
I was saying it's 8 o'clock, so I want to start moving into final thoughts.
What do you do extra innings, Jackie?
No, let's go. I think we've done this, baby.
And Don,
It's very.
your point,
I feel like
So kinda got derailed.
we all know the
barged
shore
in and
counts
just
on
started
summer
talking
dollars.
too much.
All
If
right.
the governor
Well,
hadn't opened up
I'm
and
gonna
the
go
president
first.
hadn't passed the first relief bill,
I'm
I
going
can
to go
guarantee half
first
those
with my
businesses
final
would be
thought.
underwater
Thank you.
by now.
So today, because I guess it's a competition now, a member of parliament nominated Joe Biden for the Nobel Peace Prize, I think for scratching his ass or something. I don't know. He hasn't, much like Obama, he's done absolutely nothing to deserve it. It's like, just because he's not Trump, here's the consolation prize.
No, Jackie, I'll tell you what he did. At Thanksgiving dinner, 2 of his grandkids were fighting, and he sat them down and he said, "No more!" And that's why he's getting the Peace Prize. He broke up a fight between his 2 grandchildren. I'm not sure if it was the illegitimate grandchild, or that's not, I think that was.
Oh,
At the end of the
my
day,
God.
I don't think it was deserved in any way, shape, or form, except for the fact that, Trump has 3 much deserved ones for starting the talks of peace in the Middle East. So I don't think Biden's going to win, but, someone had to put it out there. Marcus, I'll let you go next.
So many years ago, I was a precinct chair at one of our local polling stations. And I would sit out there for 12, 13 hours while the polls were open, or I'd go there and come back, come back. And I would see various people come by, such as a certain lawyer not in Maryland on this panel. And then another person I remember coming by was, I recognized him. I was like, oh, I saw him on TV. Thomas Friedman. Thomas Friedman, I mean, has a huge house up the road or something like that. However, yesterday, I believe, he was on Anderson Cooper, and he was talking about how he says, let's see, I am terrified to find myself ending my career as a journalist covering America's potential second civil war in its history.
Oh,
So you've heard talk on some folks on the right about I've talked about this coming civil conflict. I haven't said it in those terms. But hey, that's somebody he's like, hey, you have to go out and vote for Biden or else this is going to happen. Although he's also saying that if Trump wins, it's going to happen. So I don't know.
So
you're hearing an escalation of terms and
saying
rhetoric
that-
there. So I'm just throwing it out there.
It's
I remember
amazing.
sitting there, and Mark would come in, and then some point later, Tom Friedman would arrive at some point to go vote.
John Bolton was in our precinct too.
I know
You
about his
obviously
take on
were
it.
not there for the full 13 hours. 'cause-
Apparently
or
not.
else maybe Bolton,
He was on
maybe
lunch for
Bolton,
that
I-
one.
maybe
I did go
Bolton.
home for lunch.
Yeah, well, that's
Bolton
okay.
might have been
Actually,
voting
he
by
may have
mail.
done. He may have done absentee. Yeah. So
right.
you're off the hook, Marcus,
Yeah, but-
because you were a very good precinct chair. Although I have to say that you were the chair. You were the precinct chair with the largest sign promoting himself. You had this giant Alzona sign that I would say was about 10 feet long by about 5 feet. Wouldn't you say that's about the size of it?
Normal.
10 by 5. Yeah. 10 by 5 Alzona sign.
All right,
So,
Ryan.
anyway.
Ryan, what's your final thought?
So I'm taking suggestions. Feel free to message me on Facebook or Twitter or something. I'm looking for someone to write in for the Board of Education at large in the Board of Education in District 2, especially in District 2. Candidly, Rebecca Smandrowski is a very mean and spiteful person that I cannot vote for in good conscience, regardless of how much lip service that she's paid to the local schools people. So any suggestions? I would love to have them.
Yeah.
I would just vote against her. That would be my advice.
Who's her opponent? I need to make sure it's not some
Yeah.
like crazy person.
Even if they're crazy,
her.
just vote
Right
against
in
her.
Roy Halverson, actually.
She doesn't live in the district. I might write her in at large. We'll see.
What about Brandon Ripien? He's in that district.
He is.
Robin
Alright.
Ficker.
Okay,
Robin Ficker, yes.
I might be writing in Marcus Alzona
I'll do that. All right, Don,
Different
what's your
district.
final thought?
All
At
right.
large.
It was from the list tonight.
Oh.
So one of Dwight's, I think I would say, favorite people, Nick Sandman, the young man who
I think you're talking about fat.
he's successfully navigated himself in his lawsuits against the Washington Post. Has looks like he's got the leg up on the New York Times, ABC, CBS, and Rolling Stone when they had a motion to dismiss his lawsuit and it was denied. So Nick Sandman is continuing on, and he may get a little more cheddar here along the way.
If he was a couple years older, I'd be pursuing him.
After you realize we're
Some
still
things
on
that
the
are
air.
going on here tonight on the show. I just don't know about anymore.
Wow.
Jimmy, final thought. And please don't antagonize Dwight.
I
Well,
think
that's
Dwight's a
kind of
great-
hard.
He tells us more than he already has.
It's a tall order.
I think Dwight's a great guy, and I'm very pleased that he had me on the show tonight.
Yes.
I did a lot of work. Great work.
The show is invite only, by the way, just for future reference.
I would like to point out
Hey,
that
you
you are the host.
didn't have
and
you didn't have
would not
you
let him in.
didn't have to let me in.
I'm a nice guy.
All right, Dwight,
Okay,
what's your final thought?
I got a couple actually. One,
We'll let Mark go.
Not to be that guy.
yeah, I got a couple of great ones actually. One, I want to say, first of all, in all seriousness, our thoughts and prayers go out to the president and his family. We wish him a speedy recovery so he can knock the smug look off Joe Biden's face at the next debate again. And my other thing, elections are coming. Get your signs out. If you've got a Trump sign, put a couple of them out there. You might need to stock up, maybe get like 10 or 20 of them because they're going to rip them off every day. I don't know if school teachers are offering a bounty for Trump signs like they did 4 years ago, where you get an extra credit A if you rip off a Trump sign. And that's one thought. So protect your signs, put a camera on them. I don't think they'll do much if won't do much.
Dwight, what's your second final thought?
My final thought is this. It's actually this is the first, I think today marks our number, we've been doing this consecutively every Friday for 6 months now. Every Friday since 6 months, so that's the silver lining in COVID-19. And a lot of people say,
Not sure.
a lot of people
Actually,
say, our audience is growing.
After tonight, I'm not sure.
Our audience is
What do you
growing.
mean? It was a good show. Dwight called me an asshole, but it was a good show.
That's right.
We made one drop the F-bomb. I would call this a sexual episode.
Wait,
Yeah,
who called me
I-
an
yeah.
asshole?
But my point being, good. Bye, Mark.
I say, Mark, do you have a final thought, or just let Dwight do yours for you?
I think Dwight has just taken me off the air.
Yeah, I
so,
did not do that. That is you, Mark. That is all you.
I
I just said ask start video.
Yep, there you are.
Yeah.
Oh,
there
yeah.
you go.
think
You took yourself
I
off.
don't know, Dwight. I think you have your minions on the board. No, the conversation that we didn't talk about the Supreme Court nomination.
Yeah.
That's like old news
It was
compared to
what
what happened.
old news. It was just a week ago, right? Not less.
It was on Saturday.
It
Yes.
was on Saturday, less than a week ago. Anyway,
We got to do another hour.
All
we
right.
gotta do
well,
another
All right,
hour
let's go
about
for another
that.
hour.
Okay, it's 8:09.
But since that happened, I think it was a great selection by the part of the president. I will tell you that I had hoped that she was the nominee last go round. Not that anything wrong with the choice that the president made, but I am glad that she has had the opportunity to be nominated this time around. I think she'll make a great Supreme Court justice.
Agreed. All right.
Yes.
This has been the Law and Order podcast. We'll see you next Friday. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
See you,
Are we off?
everyone.
Are we off the air?
No, we're
We
not
are-
off the air.
And we lost